When did something you laughed off come back to haunt you? I was 22 when I made the stupidest joke of my life. It was during my cousin's wedding reception at this fancy country club, and I was 3 drinks in, feeling witty. My Aunt Veronica had been bragging all night about her new boyfriend Preston, how he was a successful businessman, drove a Tesla, owned multiple properties across 3 states. The whole family was impressed, especially my grandparents, who kept nodding approvingly and whispering about how Veronica had finally found a good one. He sounds too good to be true, I said, laughing as I swirled my wine. What's his last name? I should Google him and make sure he's not secretly married or running a pyramid scheme or something. Everyone at our table chuckled. My cousin rolled her eyes and said I was being ridiculous. My uncle made a joke about me becoming the family detective. Even my dad laughed and said, "Leave the poor man alone. He seems decent enough." Aunt Veronica laughed the loudest and said, "Preston Hawthorne. Go ahead, detective. You won't find anything except boring real estate licenses and business permits. He's probably the most honest man I've ever dated." She was so confident, so sure of herself. Preston had been the perfect gentleman all evening. Charming, well-dressed, knew everyone's names, brought expensive gifts for the bride and groom. He'd given this beautiful toast about love and commitment that had half the wedding party in tears. He even helped the elderly guests to their seats and complimented my grandmother's dress. So I did it. Right there at the reception, drunk and feeling clever, I pulled out my phone and started Googling. Preston Hawthorne businessman real estate, I typed, expecting to find some LinkedIn profiles and maybe a company website to prove my aunt right. Instead, within 2 minutes, I found something that made my stomach drop and my hands start shaking. Preston Hawthorne wasn't just married, he was wanted by the FBI for securities fraud, multiple counts. The mugshot was definitely him. Same distinctive jawline, and that tiny scar above his left eyebrow that Veronica had mentioned was from a childhood accident. "Oh my God," I whispered, loud enough that my cousin leaned over. "What's wrong?" she asked, looking at my phone screen. "You look like you've seen a ghost." The family started gathering around my phone, gasping at the FBI wanted poster that looked exactly like the man who'd just given a heartfelt toast about honesty and trust in relationships. My uncle grabbed the phone and started reading the charges out loud in complete disbelief. Wire fraud, money laundering, identity theft, securities manipulation. The list went on and on. "This has to be a different person," Aunt Veronica said, her face going pale as she stared at the screen. "There must be someone else with the same name. This is impossible." But the description matched perfectly, right down to the scar on his left hand that she'd pointed out earlier when she was showing off her promise ring. Height, weight, age, distinguishing marks. Everything lined up exactly. We called the police right there from the wedding reception. Preston was arrested 2 hours later, still wearing his wedding guest suit, and the expensive watch he'd claimed was a family heirloom. Turns out he'd been using a completely fake identity and had swindled my aunt out of $50,000 over 6 months. She'd given him access to her retirement account because he'd promised to invest it in his guaranteed return real estate portfolio. I felt like a hero that night. I'd saved my family from a dangerous criminal who'd been playing an elaborate long con. But that was before I learned who Preston really was, and what he was capable of, and who he worked for, and why exposing him would make me a target for the rest of my life. I couldn't fit what happens next in this short video. Watch the rest down below.